My name's Matt Clarke. I'm the mill manager, mill production manager, and I've been working here at the sugar mill for 29 years. I started way back in 1995 on a fixed term contract, cleaning the place of all things. And then I was offered very shortly after the opportunity to come and work as a labourer in the day crew. And then very shortly after that, I was offered the opportunity to come on shift, as in those days we called it a mill bed attendant. So as a mill bed attendant, you look after the milling train, keep the juice trays clean, all of those different types of things, grab samples and essentially work with the engine driver and the engine driver's mate to keep the milling train running. So then went to the refinery and progressed over the years through all stations in the refinery, then a shift supervisor, then a project supervisor, and then did a fair bit of time in training, developing training materials for the operators, which I really loved. Education and bringing new people into the business is something that I really enjoy. And then got the opportunity to be the mill production manager, which is a challenge to say the least, but it's a very enjoyable job and you've got some pretty good people to work with. So that was how long I've been here and that's what I've been doing. There's some really nice people, good, genuine people that work in our industry. And as we've already discussed, they've been here a long time, as I have, and you make quite close relationships with those people. And when you're on shift, like I was for 14 years, you spend more time with them than you do at home. So you get this relationship with people here on site. So it's, I would say it's the people you work with. There's some very good people over the years I've worked with, that's for sure. And still do. One of the biggest joys I get from my position at the moment is we have a group of young professionals coming through our business that started. One of them in particular started here, was looking for work placement in his chemical engineering course, third year, and we put him on and he's been here ever since he's finished his degree. So he's a young Harrison, he's a real gem. We have young Maya, she started with us last year, and Tice also a couple of years in, and they're all making their way, and it's a really good thing to be involved with mentoring the next group of people that are going to take on and run this place, hopefully for another 100 years. So that's what I enjoy most about working here at Sunshine Sugar down at the Harwood Mill. Wow, that's a difficult question to answer, actually. I come to the mill looking for money and opportunity. It's a very strange way I ended up here, actually. I hated school. I really didn't like going to school very much. I went through to year 12. I got through by the skin on my backside, essentially. I didn't apply myself and got good enough marks, and it was go to uni or find a job. I couldn't bring myself to another 4 years of university to become an educator, a school teacher. So I took the first job that was available, and that was a butcher. I don't know how I ended up there, but I did, and I didn't like any of it. I really did. I did me 4 years, and the first thing I wanted to do is find something different. And they were looking for people down here to start, so I thought, why not? So in those days, you registered interest by turning up at the front of the office and dropping off your resume, and if the boss gave you a ring, then you're in, sort of thing. They come and have a chat to you. Well, in those days, Alan Cape was a gentleman's name, and I'm hoping you'll catch up with Alan at some stage. And I rolled it over, and he was based over here in the lab in those days, and I thought, crikey, I'm wandering through the factory going, this is pretty big. And Alan sat me down and had a yarn to me, and he said, well, you can start next week. And the rest, they say, is history. So one of the pleasing things about our business is that a bloke that didn't apply himself very well at school started here as a ex-butcher, hard work, dedication and some education along the way, is now running the mill as a mill production manager. So you got to say that it's a pretty special place to be. That's for sure. That's what I get out of them working at the sugar mill anyways. So yeah, I think that if we can continue to operate like this and give people of our community an opportunity, the sky is the limit. It's really special to be here at the sugar mill and not knowing when I started those 29 years ago that I'd still be here. coming up to the anniversary of operating at this site for 150 years. That doesn't happen very often. How many other businesses in Australia can you say that have been operating continuously for 150 years? Particularly in agribusiness, there wouldn't be very many. I think Lorco's been around for a fair while, of course, but it'd be a pretty small number. So to actually be part of it is really special, because I'm not going to be here for another 150, I can assure you. And neither will no one will be here in another 150 years. There may be some very young ones that might see 200, but you never know. But it is something to be proud of, and I've been here, as I say, for nearly 30 years and enjoyed every day, and I think it's a great way to celebrate. 150 years is pretty special, particularly when there are family ties. So both, well, a great-grandfather on mum's side and a grandfather on dad's side have actually worked here for a short time as well, and many of my relatives. I mean, my story is not unique. There would be quite a few people that have had relatives, uncles, aunties, grandfathers, and all those sort of things work here over the years as well. A lot of our relatives were cane cutters and all those types of things as well, when there was all manual cane cutting. Dad was a cane farmer, uncle was a cane farmer. So to come and work here as part of that whole system is pretty special. Way back when I started, there was a lot more people here. And by that I mean there was very little automation. Everything was very hands-on, very manual. So there was quite a few extra people on shift to process the cane. We had 3 dedicated people on the milling train on 4 shifts, 12 people that were dedicated to running the milling process. And then we had 2 sugar boilers, and we had all these other extra people. We had 2 people operating stations in the refinery. And as with every other business, to try and minimise costs and stay competitive, automation becomes part of the process. So the milling train automation was pretty big for us. When I first started supervising, there was a shift engineer and a shift supervisor. So that spread the load across both sides. And I, myself and a couple of the other guys, we were the guinea pigs for the whole turning it over and running with one person supervising the whole process, which, mind you, is a pretty fair challenge. So that's probably been the biggest change. The other change is the way the cane's delivered. We're constantly getting more and more cane, bigger and bigger bins. So that's a bit of a change as well. But it really, manufacture of sugar hasn't really changed so much apart from automation. Automation's been a big change. And I guess from the refining aspect, the number of trucks that we're getting in these days and how big the back end of our business is, and how not difficult, but how technical it is to manage all of our customers, getting it there on time, getting it off site, is also another big change. When I first started all those years ago, the vast majority of the sugar we produced was put into road tankers and was used for soft drink manufacturers, Cadbury, Schweppes, Coca-Cola, things like that. Whereas today we have such a large and diverse customer base, everything from Woolworths, which take our retail product, through to Australian Bakers, Green General Foods, lolly manufacturers, and anything and everything in between, small bakeries and that. So that takes a lot of effort and a lot of time and careful attention to detail to make sure our customers get our product. So one of the things that I really do treasure as a memory working here with Sunshine Sugar is my mentor, Stephen King, which is hopefully you'll get the opportunity to talk to Stephen, because he's a true gentleman and lovely, lovely bloke, and knows more about sugar than a lot of people other probably ever know. I used to drive him mad asking for, why do we do this? Why do we do that? Could we do this better? And he'd send me away to some course somewhere or something here or there, and I'd come back and I'd always have more questions. And he gave me a project which was to changed the way in which we manage the refinery pans and making sugar for energy efficiency, water savings, and things like that. And he's a patient man because it wasn't an easy process to begin with, but I ended up being quite successful. And my other good friend, which no longer works at the business, Nigel, he helped me prepare a paper and I presented that at the ASSECT. So I guess that's one of the highlights, that a bloke that arrived here that was essentially a labourer to presenting a peer review paper to his peers within the sugar industry is something pretty special. And I come back to my original statement that this business is full of opportunity if you wish to have a go. We've over the years had a lot of people which have started here as labourers and now hold down very successful jobs in positions where they actually run sections of the business. So I would say that that would be one of the fondest memories. And of course, there's always a lot of, I won't say misbehaviour, but mischief at times through the years. And it was a regular occurrence, and I'll probably get into trouble. But anyway, we used to call it the Manildra Flathead Classic. If the place was broken down, there'd be about 3 or 4 blokes on the riverbank fishing, chasing flathead in the middle of the night. So there was always those sorts of things to keep you entertained. And when a local fisherman, Fatty Ford, used to run his prawn trawler down here on the edge of the river, we'd run around the stations and everybody would throw in the kitty and we'd go and buy a heap of prawns, and in the middle of the night we'd have fresh bread and prawn sandwiches on shift and stuff like that. So there's all those types of things that would happen as well. So as I say, when work was there, we certainly worked hard, and we were here all night and doing all those sorts of things. But we had a good group of supervisors and bosses that understood, and they, as long as we were sensible, they sort of did that, bit of a blind eye to it, but we always did the right thing, got the work done. So there's lots of stuff like that over the years, and there's probably too many to remember. I've got to say that I'm proud of working where I work, and that's probably a rare commodity with a lot of industries these days. It's not always easy, but most jobs never are. I've been fortunate enough to have some very good people to work with over my years here at Harwood. As I mentioned, Stephen King and a few others. It's just a good place to be. It's a good place to work. You get to meet all of these really nice people. Coming from a family, grandfather, father and uncles and that have farmed cane, you have connections outside the business as well. And I would say to anybody that contemplates coming to us to give it a red hot go. It's a good place to be. I may be biased, but we're the last of the Australian-owned sugar mills, and there's a lot of history here. And I wouldn't work anywhere else.